Hey guys, this is Iron Bad Prime reviewing Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. I just wanted to say this is my first video on my new YouTube channel, reviewing movies and talk about pop culture and stuff. If you could please leave a like and subscription, that'd be very good, thank you. But let's get to a review. So, I went to the premiere last night, Rogue One, and I was satisfied. I enjoyed myself. At first I was worried because director Gareth Edwards directed 2020 Godzilla, and I found that very disappointing. But after watching this, I can say this was a good movie. It was fresh, it was unique, it's expanding the Star Wars genre, and it bridges the gap between episodes 3 and 4, which are my favourite Star Wars movies. And I was satisfied. Also, it was a fresh movie. It did have some faults, of course. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't the best Star Wars movie, but it is unique, I would say that. What makes Star Wars great, of course, is the characters, and that's what we're going to get into first. The characters. So Felicity Jones played Jyn Erso, the protagonist of the story. And she really did good. She was a symbol of hope and everything. She was a spark. She really converted emotion on the screen very, very well. And it's also good to see another female take the lead in a Star Wars movie. I mean, Rey last year in The Force Awakens did a very good job. And it's really empowering women. And it's good to see that. That's a great thing about Star Wars. No matter your race or gender, it's expanding constantly. That's what's great about the Star Wars universe. But Felicity Jones did a very good job as Jyn Erso. She was an interesting character, had a lot to do with the development of the Death Star for her whole family, and she was a very good protagonist. But the star of this movie was Alan Tudyk's K2SO, the Imperial droid that has been rewired and configured. He was a star. Like last night when I was watching it, I had such a great time because of him. He was hilarious. The whole audience was cheering for him. And Alan Tudyk just has this talent in his voice. He knows how to please every single person. He's such a lovable character, and he really puts that into the droid. I just want to say, Tudyk, you weren't a Jar Jar Binks. You did a very good job. And every year, these droids are just getting better and better, and it's very good to see. Another great character we had was Asian actor Donnie Chirrut Imwe, and he played not a Jedi, but a Force user, a defender of the Force and the ancient traditions. And look, I like Star Wars, but what I love about Star Wars is the Jedi, the Sith, and the Force. And we didn't get to have much of that in this movie, but he also brought an interesting concept of the Force. And he shared it amongst everyone, and it was a very interesting character. His choreography was great in the combat. That was very good. And another great thing about Star Wars with this movie that was shown is it always produces amazing antagonists. Always. Every movie. Even episode 2, I will say, Count Dooku was an intimidating villain. And director Krennic was a decent villain. I was actually very happy with him. He played a cunning and vicious leader of the Empire in the development of the Death Star and such. And what was great to see, we don't get this much in Star Wars movie, and this is what makes this movie very unique. What we saw was the idea of a bad person believing he's doing good things. His idea of peace through tyranny. And we finally got to see that through the Empire. Not everyone's just a mean bastard. Some actually believe that you can achieve peace through this method. And you have to start somewhere, he says in the movie. And it was great to see this villain. He played it very good. I was very happy we had another great villain. Those were the 4 standouts. Some characters were okay. We have two of these characters. They just felt very forced in. Didn't get character development as much as I hoped for. They were Baze Malbus and Bodhi Rook. They felt so forced into this conflict, this story, and they didn't play much of a big role. It makes you wonder, why are they just there? Not necessarily bad characters, but they still did a very good job in the combat and everything. They just felt a bit underdeveloped and very forced and rushed into the movie. Same with what's his name, Captain Andor. I'm not sure he should even be in the rebellion, to be honest. He's not a bad character, but he's just a dick, and it makes you wonder, does he belong here? Does he belong in the rebellion? But at the same time, I guess because it's involving conflict and such, it makes it more realistic because people change when they're in the line of war and everything, and that is another unique thing about this film. It wasn't a bad character. However, something that really turned me off this movie was Oscar winner Forrest. his character, Saw Gerrera. That really upset me because I thought his character was a waste, had so much potential since he was carried on from the Clone Wars. And the voice he used, it was so cringeworthy, and he really doesn't serve much to the story. He just felt like you got, again, another forced character with no development, and they wasted him because he's such an iconic Clone Wars character. And it felt wasted. It didn't pay respects to the old show. And you could have watched Rogue One without him in it, honestly. You didn't even really need him in it. But at the same time, the fact that we're having now that we had two Asian actors into Star Wars, it's good to see more diversity. And that's something great about Star Wars. But speaking of the diversity, one issue I do have with this film is that the Empire is pretty much a whole bunch of racist group. It's all humanity. But in the Rebellion, it's supposed to be diverse between all these different aliens and humans. You don't really get that here. There are some aliens, of course, but not as much as you would hope for. And that's why, if anyone who really watches Star Wars Rebels, great show, watch it. It's more diverse. They feel like a family. Their characters are developed. And I just wish these characters were put in this movie instead of the ones we got. They weren't, not necessarily these guys were bad characters. Just the ones in Rebels had more development and were more likable. You could connect with them more. But still, the characters were good. Speaking of characters, there's good cameos in this film. It really pays respect to the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy as well, which I'm going to say, I'll be honest, I like. I love all of Star Wars. Prequel I still enjoyed. I'm not going to spoil who they are, but there'll be some surprises, some expected, but they'll make you happy, I guarantee. But the big character we all want to know about is Darth Vader. Now, I'm not going to say what he does, but I will say there's not much in there of him. However, every time he is on screen, he steals the show. He steals every scene he's in. And Rogue One treats us to the best Darth Vader scene I've ever seen. And that's topping I Am Your Father, the lightsaber battles with Luke. It is the greatest scene with Darth Vader I've ever seen. And it was a real treat. Especially for a side movie and everything. It was very good to see. Vader did own it. I just wish there could have been a bit more in it. He was like Godzilla in Edward's Godzilla movie. Not much of him there, but when he's in it, he steals the scene. But back to the characters. They were good overall. Just felt very forced, some of them. Not much development in the characters overall. In terms of plot, if you do watch Star Wars, of course, you do know the plot. It's about basically the first paragraph in A New Hope is the plot of Rogue One. It's capturing the plans for a Death Star. Yet Edwards does find a way to make this movie still exciting and interesting, knowing the outcome of the film, which is good. There's new inventive ways he's put into the Star Wars universe. And it sums up a lot of questions between the two films, Revenge of the Sith and New Hope. But the plot was it's a story of redemption and connection, basically. And all the characters are all the rebels, and even the Empire. Both sides have their sins in this conflict, and it's about resolving them and everything. I will say, though, the introduction is very clunky. It's off-pace, it feels very rushed and forced, a lot like the characters. That being said, the conclusion is fantastic. The conclusion, they executed so well. It's like a pop culture poetry. They executed it well and concluded it. The best thing about this film, though, is I've never seen a movie with the best CGI and best practical effects. When you watch this movie, honestly, this is the closest thing you can actually get to the title. Star Wars. You've never felt so immersed in a battle before. Like, I will say, Trench Run, Battle of Hoth, and Endor, great fights. Even Endor with the Ewoks and teddy bears and everything. It's still great. The battle on the beach in the final act of Rogue One is the best battle in Star Wars I've ever seen. It's so well choreographed. It's so well shot. The costumes, the makeup, the score. It's done so well. The practical effects department really nailed it. I reckon it's the best I've seen. Even better than Force Awakens' practical effects, I'll say. They make it feel like you're in a war zone. And that's what's great about Rogue One. It makes it unique to all the other films. Both sides, the Rebels and the Empire, idealize the aspects of conflict and how one must compromise to achieve the greater good. And that was great to see in this film. No other Star Wars movie's done that. And they finally illustrated that in this film. And that was great to see. And yeah, like no other thing's done that. So it makes it unique and fresh, this film, I will say. But overall, when I did leave the theater, I was a bit disappointed, yet I was still satisfied. It wasn't great, I won't say, but it was a good Star Wars movie. The cons of this film, it was clunky and rushed at the start. A lot of the characters felt forced into this film. But the cameos of the characters were great. Darth Vader is amazing. K2SO steals the show. Alan Tudyk, you're a legend. You did a very good job. That's the other thing about K2SO. He's animated, but he looks so real. It shows just how good the CGI and the practical effects were in this department. They really killed it in the visual design. I wouldn't be surprised if Rogue One wins an Oscar and that Force Awakens didn't. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe Hacksaw Ridge might take it, but still, visually stunning. And the biggest con of the film, which probably made it good and not great, was Saw Gerrera's character, Forrest. It just didn't cut it for me. I felt very disappointed in that character because I'm a huge fan of Clone Wars and Rebels, and it felt so empty and didn't do the old cartoon justice. That being said, I'm giving this film a positive review, and I'm giving it a 7.7 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment, any issues or any questions, any feedback you'd like to give me. This is Iron Bat Prime. See you guys later. Bye.